It was just another quiet evening, the kind where the streets feel emptier than usual and the air grows heavier with every step. But for the 5 people in these true stories, what started as an ordinary walk home turned into something far more terrifying. Each one swore they'd never walk alone again. Story number 1. The footsteps behind me. It was nearly midnight when Sarah left her friend's house. The air was cold and the streets were almost empty, except for the faint hum of a faraway streetlight flickering at the corner. She wrapped her coat tighter and started walking home. A 10-minute walk she'd made countless times before. But tonight felt different. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, watching, waiting. Her footsteps echoed softly against the wet pavement, and every sound seemed amplified in the still night. Halfway down Maple Street, she heard it, a faint crunch of gravel behind her. She stopped. The sound stopped. Her eyes darted around, scanning the shadows between the parked cars and the narrow alleyway. No one. She forced a small laugh, convincing herself it was just her imagination. But when she began walking again, the footsteps resumed, slow, steady, matching her pace perfectly. Sarah's heart began to pound. She quickened her steps. So did the sound behind her. Panic crawled up her spine. She didn't dare look back. The streetlights flickered as if reacting to her fear, casting long, twitching shadows on the ground. Maybe someone else is walking home too, she thought, trying to stay calm. But deep down, something felt wrong. She could feel it. The unmistakable sensation of being watched, hunted. At the next intersection, she turned suddenly into a side street. The footsteps hesitated for a second, then followed. That hesitation told her it wasn't just coincidence. Someone or something was following her. Her breath quickened, misting the cold night air. She clutched her phone but didn't dare make a call, terrified the glow from the screen would reveal her. The houses on this street were dark, lifeless, their windows like black eyes watching her pass. She reached the small park she usually cut through to save time. Tonight it looked endless, swallowed by shadows, but she had no choice. Staying on the street made her an easy target. She slipped inside the park, her shoes crunching softly on the gravel path. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then she heard it again, those slow, deliberate footsteps following her into the dark. Sarah broke into a run, her breath ragged, her heart pounding so loud she could barely hear herself think. Behind her, the footsteps quickened, heavier now, closer. She didn't look back. She just ran, past the swings that creaked in the wind, past the empty benches, toward the dim light at the park's exit. She burst through the gate and sprinted across the street toward her apartment building. Her keys trembled in her hand as she fumbled to unlock the door. Just as she slammed it shut behind her, someone, hit the door from the other side. A loud thud echoed through the hallway. She froze, her back pressed against the wood, tears welling in her eyes. Silence. Then slowly she heard footsteps retreating down the sidewalk. She stood there for what felt like hours before finally daring to look through the peephole. Nothing but the empty, fog-covered street. The next morning, Sarah found muddy footprints leading up to her door, but they didn't stop there. They circled her door twice before vanishing into the grass. When she told her neighbors, they said no one had been outside that night. No cars, no strangers, no sound. Yet, deep down, Sarah knew what she'd heard. And sometimes when she walks home late, she swears she still hears those same footsteps waiting for her to turn around. Story number 2, the van that followed me home. It started on a cold Thursday night in early November. Emily had stayed late at work, the last car in the parking lot except for one, a white van parked a few rows away. Its windows were tinted pitch black, the kind that reflected your own face back at you when you tried to peek inside. She didn't think much of it at first. People worked late all the time. But when she started her car, she noticed the van's headlights flicker on too, almost in sync with hers. At first, she laughed it off, convincing herself it was just a coincidence. She pulled out of the parking lot, watching the van in her rearview mirror. It followed. Turn after turn, every time she changed lanes, it changed too. The city lights faded as she drove into the quiet suburbs, the streets nearly empty. Emily's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Her heartbeat quickened. She turned onto a smaller road she didn't usually take just to see. And sure enough, the van turned too. By now, she was sure. Someone was following her. She tried to calm herself down. Maybe they lived nearby. Maybe it was just a delivery van. But the way it stayed exactly 2 car lengths behind her felt deliberate, almost calculated. When she slowed down, it slowed too. When she sped up, it matched her. She grabbed her phone to call the police, but before she could dial, the van's headlights suddenly switched off. The road behind her went dark. Panic hit her like ice water. She pressed harder on the gas, racing down the empty street. Then, she saw it. The van again. Its headlights off, but the faint outline visible in the rearview mirror. It was still there, keeping pace. Her mind raced. What did they want? Was someone inside? She couldn't tell. The windows were so dark it was like looking into nothing. She turned sharply onto her street, pulling into her driveway, hoping the van would pass by. But it didn't. It stopped at the end of the block, idling. Emily sat in her car, afraid to move. The van didn't budge. The engine hummed softly, distant but constant. She decided to make a run for it. She sprinted to her front door, slammed it shut, locked every bolt, and peeked through the blinds. The van's headlights turned back on. It started rolling slowly toward her house. Her breath caught in her throat. She backed away from the window, her hands shaking as she dialed 911. The operator answered, calm and steady, but Emily's words tumbled out, desperate and broken. Someone else following me, a white van, and they were outside my house. The dispatcher told her to stay inside, that officers were on their way. Emily crouched near the hallway, the glow of her phone lighting her trembling fingers. The sound of the van's engine grew louder. Then it stopped. Silence. She peeked out again, but the van was gone. The street was empty. Relief washed over her, but it didn't last long. Just as she turned away from the window, a light flickered in her driveway. Headlights. The van was back, closer this time, right at the end of her driveway. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Nice house. Emily froze. The message wasn't just words. Attached was a photo of her, crouched by the window, taken from outside. She screamed and ran toward the back door, but before she could unlock it, she heard footsteps on the porch. Heavy, slow. Then, a knock. Just one. A single, deliberate knock. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The van's engine roared, tires screeching as it sped off into the night. When the officers arrived, the street was quiet again. No sign of the van anywhere. They checked the security camera footage, but it was corrupted. Every clip from that night was static. Over the next few days, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time she went outside, she caught glimpses of white, a van turning the corner, a shape in a reflection, a blur in traffic. She moved apartments within a week, left her job, even changed her phone number. But 3 nights later, as she unpacked boxes in her new place, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number, one new message. It was another photo, this time taken through her new apartment window. Her hands trembled as she opened it, and beneath the photo, there were only 3 words. Found you again. Story number 3. The Shadow in the Woods. It started as a quiet weekend getaway. 3 friends, Eli, Mason, and Jordan, had planned a simple camping trip deep in the Red Pine Woods, a forest so remote that even cell service vanished after the first hour. They wanted to escape the noise of the city, to breathe fresh air, sit around a fire, and maybe tell some ghost stories. But none of them could have imagined that by the end of the trip, only 2 would make it out, barely speaking of what happened again. The first day was perfect. The weather was calm, the sun cut through the trees, and the air smelled of pine and damp soil. They found a clearing near a narrow stream, set up their tents, and laughed until the stars came out. But around midnight, as they sat by the fire roasting marshmallows, they heard it. A slow crunch of leaves from the darkness, not a branch breaking or an animal scurrying. This sounded deliberate, like footsteps pacing just out of sight. Mason grabbed his flashlight and aimed it toward the sound, but the beam caught nothing. Just trees. Silence followed, thick and unnatural. After a few nervous jokes, they decided to ignore it. But the laughter didn't come back as easily. The next morning, Eli found something strange near the edge of their camp. Bare footprints in the dirt, long, narrow, and deep, as if whoever or whatever had made them was heavy. The prints weren't human. Each toe was too long, and there were only 4. The others brushed it off, saying maybe an animal had walked through the night before. But Eli couldn't shake the feeling that something had been standing there, watching them sleep. That night, the woods felt different. The wind had stopped, and the forest was deathly still. Not a single cricket chirped. As they sat by the fire again, Jordan whispered, "Do you hear that?" They listened, and from the darkness came a low humming sound, almost like someone trying to speak but failing to form words. It circled the camp, coming from every direction, sometimes near, sometimes far. When Mason shouted, "Who's there?" the sound stopped instantly. Then, a few seconds later, they heard it again, closer this time. Eli turned, shining his flashlight toward the trees, and for a split second he saw it. A tall figure, pitch black, darker than the night itself, standing between the trees. Its shape was wrong, like a shadow peeled off the ground and given form. It didn't move, didn't flinch when the light hit it. And then, before any of them could react, it melted backward into the darkness and was gone. Panic took over. They doused the fire and ran into their tents, zipping them shut, whispering that it was just their imagination. But outside, the footsteps began again. Slow, deliberate, circling the tents. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Mason whispered Eli's name, but Eli didn't answer. He was staring at the thin fabric wall of the tent, watching as a long shadow passed across it, stretching unnaturally tall. Then came a sound that made his blood run cold. A voice, faint and distorted, whispering his name from the other side of the canvas. Eli. His sleeping bag was torn apart, and his backpack lay near the stream, soaked. No footprints this time, no trace of him, just a strange, dark smear on the dirt, like ash mixed with mud. They screamed for him, searched for hours, but the woods seemed endless, repeating the same path no matter where they turned. When they finally found the trail back to their truck, both swore they could feel something following them. Every time they looked back, the trees seemed to shift, like something was hiding behind them. Days later, a search team combed through the area. They found the camp, but no sign of Eli. The only thing discovered was his flashlight, wedged between 2 roots, still flickering dimly, as if it hadn't been turned off since that night. The official report said he'd probably gotten lost, but Mason and Jordan knew better. They'd seen the shadow, the one that didn't belong to any living thing. And even now, when they talk about that night, they both swear that if you go deep enough into Red Pine Woods after dark, you can still hear it whispering your name from the trees. Story number 4. The Man in the Alley. It was close to midnight when Ethan left his friend's apartment. The streets were nearly empty, except for the faint hum of a distant car engine and the occasional flicker of a dying streetlight. The city always had a pulse at night, but tonight, it felt dead. As he walked toward the main road, Ethan decided to take a shortcut through an alley he'd used dozens of times before. A narrow, dimly lit passage that cut between 2 old apartment blocks. It was quicker, and at this hour, he just wanted to get home. The air in the alley was colder. Damp brick walls loomed high on either side, covered in grime and graffiti. Ethan shoved his hands in his jacket pockets, his footsteps echoing in rhythm. Steady, calm, until he realized there was another set echoing behind him. He stopped. The second set stopped too. The air went heavy. Slowly he turned his head, expecting to see someone coming out of the shadows. But the alley was empty, just silence and the faint drip of water from a leaking pipe. He exhaled, laughing softly to himself. Probably just his imagination, or the echo bouncing weird off the walls. He started walking again. Tap, tap, tap. The footsteps followed, perfectly timed with his own. Ethan's stomach tightened. He stopped abruptly. The other steps lagged for half a second before stopping too. This time, his breath hitched. He turned fully, scanning the shadows at the far end. The dim streetlight at the entrance flickered, casting a faint orange glow that barely reached the middle of the alley. That's when he saw it. A shape. A man. Standing perfectly still at the far end where the light didn't quite reach. "Hey!" Ethan called out, trying to sound firm. No response. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, tall and rigid, with its head slightly tilted to the side, like it was studying him. Ethan's chest felt tight. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble," he muttered, stepping back. Still, no response. Just silence. Then, slowly, the figure started to move forward. Not walking. Gliding. Each step unnaturally smooth, the body swaying slightly as if it wasn't fully touching the ground. Ethan's instincts screamed to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The figure stopped again, about halfway down the alley, still shrouded in shadow. Ethan could make out more details now. A long coat torn at the edges, a wide-brimmed hat that hid most of its face, except for the mouth. He could see a faint, unnatural smile stretching far too wide beneath the brim. Ethan stumbled back, fumbling for his phone. The screen's glow barely cut through the darkness, but when he lifted it, the man was gone. Just gone. A sound echoed from behind him. Slow, deliberate breathing. Ethan spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. Nothing there. He started walking fast, almost running toward the other end of the alley. The lights above flickered again one by one as he passed. The last bulb above him buzzed, then went out. Darkness swallowed him whole. For a second there was absolute silence. Then, right by his ear, a whisper. Low, raspy. "You shouldn't have looked back." Ethan screamed and bolted forward, stumbling onto the main street. The second he crossed the line where the light met the darkness, he turned. The alley was empty, completely still. But down in the shadows, just for a moment, he saw the faint glint of teeth, smiling. He ran all the way home without looking back again. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that smile. Too wide, too human to be real. He tried convincing himself it was just some drunk stranger playing a prank. But the next morning, when he checked the local news, he froze. A headline read, "Body found in abandoned alley. Man missing since last night." The photo attached showed the very alley he'd been in. Police said the man had been dead for days, but what chilled Ethan to his core was the description of the body. A long coat, a wide-brimmed hat, and a grin carved permanently into his face. From that night on, Ethan never took shortcuts again. But sometimes, when he walks past that part of town, he swears he still hears footsteps matching his own and a faint whisper that says, "Don't look back." And story number 5, The Passenger. It was just after midnight when Ryan pulled his car onto the empty highway. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the road glistening under the dull orange streetlights. He was driving back from his late shift at the diner, tired, half awake, and desperate to get home. The hum of the engine and the rhythm of the windshield wipers almost lulled him into a trance when he saw her, standing by the side of the road, thumb out, head lowered beneath a hood. Normally, Ryan would never stop for a hitchhiker, especially not this late. But something about her, maybe the way she stood, motionless, drenched, alone, made him slow down. He rolled down the window just enough to ask, "You need a ride?" The woman nodded silently and climbed into the back seat without a word. Ryan noticed her clothes were soaked, and her long, dark hair clung to her pale skin. She didn't look at him, just stared out the window. For a few miles, the only sound was the rain tapping against the glass. Ryan tried breaking the silence. "Rough night, huh?" No response. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Her face was hidden, her chin dipped toward her chest. Maybe she was just cold or scared. "Where are you headed?" he asked. Slowly, she lifted her head, and in a flat, emotionless voice said, "Home." Something in her tone chilled him. He swallowed and nodded. "All right, where's home?" She turned her head slightly toward him, her voice distant, almost echoing. "You'll know when we get there." Ryan's hands tightened around the wheel. He forced a laugh. "Right. Okay." The air in the car felt heavier now, thick with something he couldn't name. He cracked the window, but the smell that drifted from the back made his stomach turn. A faint metallic scent, sharp and cold, like rust or blood. He checked the mirror again. The woman's head was turned toward him now. He could feel her eyes on him, but in the reflection, he couldn't see her face clearly. Just darkness where her eyes should have been. His heart began to pound. "You okay back there?" he muttered. No answer. The static on the radio hissed suddenly and a soft whisper crackled through. His name. Ryan. He turned down the volume, staring at the dashboard. Then it came again, louder this time. "Ryan." It was her voice. He looked up into the mirror, and his blood froze. The back seat was empty. He slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop in the middle of the road. His chest heaved as he turned around. Nothing. The seat was dry now, no sign anyone had ever been there. He tried convincing himself he was just exhausted, imagining things. But then, something caught his eye. In the fogged-up back window, written in long, shaky letters were the words, "Thank you for the ride." His hands trembled as he wiped the glass, but the words stayed, etched somehow from the inside. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw her, standing again by the roadside in his rearview mirror, hood up, arm outstretched, waiting for another car. Ryan's breath caught. He hit the gas and didn't look back. When he finally pulled into his driveway, dawn was breaking. He sat there trying to steady his breathing. His phone buzzed with a notification from the local news. The headline made his stomach drop. "Woman killed in hit and run on Highway 47, exactly 1 year ago tonight." The photo beneath it showed her face, the same face he'd seen in his back seat. Ryan never drove that road again. But sometimes, on quiet nights, he swears he can still hear her voice from the back seat whispering, "You'll know when we get there." If these true scary stories gave you chills, don't forget to hit like, leave a comment sharing which story terrified you the most, and subscribe for more real horror every week. Remember, next time you walk home alone, listen carefully. Someone might be right behind you.